With spring comes the beginning of the threat of the mosquito-borne Zika virus in Texas. 18 pregnant women in the Rio Grande Valley have already been infected with the virus this year, which has been linked to birth defects such as microcephaly. Of the 18 women, 2 have given birth to babies with microcephaly, 7 babies appear normal, and 9 pregnancies are ongoing. In the Rio Grande Valley, it's hard to tell where someone may have contracted the Zika virus, since so many residents are traveling back and forth between Mexico and Texas. So far, there is no vaccine for the virus.
North Korea has accused the United States and South Korea of plotting to kill its supreme leader, Kim Jong-un. North Korea's Ministry of State Security said, quote, "The Central Intelligence Agency of the U.S. and the Intelligence Service of South Korea, hotbeds of evil in the world, hatched a vicious plot to hurt the supreme leadership of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea." The statement, carried by North Korea's news agency on Friday, May 5th, goes on to say the intelligence agencies bribed a North Korean to conduct a biochemical attack. This comes amid rising tensions on the Korean peninsula, where the North continues to conduct missile tests in defiance of global condemnation. Also on Thursday, the U.S. House voted overwhelmingly in favor of new sanctions against North Korea. Meanwhile, the Washington Post reports North Korea made similar statements before, but none were verified. As of this recording, the U.S. government has not commented. For United News International, I'm Matt Paul.
In rural Brazil, an outbreak of yellow fever that began in December is considered the largest in 14 years. CNN has reported that residents began shooting and beating monkeys to death after the deaths of 11 yellow fever patients in the small town of Ladainha. Roberto Alves, manager of the Vectorially Transmitted Illnesses Technical Vigilance Unit at Brazil's health ministry, is tracking the outbreak and explained that the death of a primate is an event of mandatory notification to health services. Paul Allen Garber, executive editor of the American Journal of Primatology, said what's happening is people are killing howler monkeys because they're afraid they're going to catch, or their kids are going to catch, disease from these monkeys. Howler monkeys do not transmit yellow fever virus. It is transmitted through mosquitoes. In fact, the monkeys are highly sensitive to the disease, the most vulnerable of all the primates in Brazil.
Planned Parenthood, the U.S. medical services provider that could lose federal funding under the Republican-controlled House of Representatives health care overhaul bill, said it would hold dozens of demonstrations outside the local offices of members of Congress across the country on Friday and Saturday. Kelly Robinson, the national organizing director of the Planned Parenthood Action Fund, said in a statement, "We're standing together as women, people of color, immigrants, and as people of faith, and we're fighting back."
According to a report by CBS San Francisco, Bay Area fish and wildlife officials are trying to discover the reason behind a spike in a number of leopard sharks dying off around the Bay Area. The concentration of dead leopard sharks appears to be around the Foster City and Redwood Shores area, although numerous others have washed up in the Alameda and Marin counties as well as in San Francisco over the past 7 weeks. Sean Van Semmerman of the Pelagic Shark Research Foundation said, "From a conservation perspective, it's very serious if not critical. This is timed with their annual breeding cycle. This marks the third observed die-off in the past 6 years."
On Thursday morning, nearly 400 birds were found dead outside an office building after the flock apparently became disoriented and crashed into the skyscraper. CBS News reports that office workers found 395 dead birds outside the American National Insurance Building in Galveston, Texas, when they arrived at work. The Houston Audubon Society said that heavy winds and rain likely forced the birds to fly lower to the ground, and the building's bright lights probably further disoriented the flock.
Monitoring the killer mountain. Experts are checking water pressure, moisture content, and GPS markers at the Mitotamula rubbish dump to prevent a repeat of last month's disaster. For Feroz Khan, it's too late. His home was one of dozens buried in a wall of mud and sludge that surged from the base of the rubbish dump. His family escaped with seconds to spare.
We are thankful to God that we survived. Now we have to start life over, to get back up again.
A number of families who lost their homes have been rehoused. But the bigger issue of garbage is not going away. Protests by residents near other rubbish dumps spread, prompting the government to declare garbage disposal an essential service, meaning any move to disrupt operations would be illegal. One of the reasons for so much garbage is that most households do not sort their waste.
Sometimes there's polythene with food waste. If this happens, we don't take it, and we tell people to sort it again.
Waste collection and disposal is done by local authorities. Some insist that rubbish is separated by households, but this doesn't always happen.
Therefore, I think in Sri Lanka it is fundamental, or it is very important to introduce new set of regulations, laws and regulations, to make the segregation at source mandatory.
Fernando says this is vital if Sri Lanka is to manage its waste more effectively.
With Sri Lankans reportedly producing the highest amount of garbage per person, you would think that recycling facilities like this are working to maximum capacity. But industry representatives say many recycling companies are closing because they're not getting enough waste.
Viridis is one of Sri Lanka's largest plastic recyclers, in business for over a decade. It's only handling half of its 300-ton capacity at present.
We have capacity, not only us, recyclers have capacity, but they are not getting enough material to recycle.
Muthukumarana's boss, a Briton who was one of the pioneers in the field, has a suggestion.
In Europe, what they do, they charge you 20 rupees, or in there it's like 10 pence per bag. Yeah. It's decreased the usage by 80% overnight. If they did this here, then the matter's cured.
Making polluters pay in proportion to the waste they produce is another option. But whether the government has the will to take such a politically risky decision remains to be seen. Minna Fernandez, Al Jazeera, Colombo.
U.S. fighter jets intercepted several Russian warplanes near U.S. airspace off the coast of Alaska. According to NORAD, 2 U.S. F-22s intercepted 2 Russian Tu-95 Bear bombers and 2 Su-35 flanker jets on May 3rd. While the Russian planes stayed in international airspace, they did fly as close to 50 miles from Point Hope, Alaska. U.S. officials called the interaction safe and professional. However, this is the first time Russian bombers have been escorted by fighters in flights of this nature since 2015. A Russian A-50 mainstay surveillance plane also flew into the area on Wednesday, but remained in international airspace and was not intercepted. Last month, Russian military aircraft were spotted flying off the coast of Alaska 4 times in as many days, between April 17th and April 20th. For United News International from Washington, D.C., I'm Caitlin Mangum.
A Nigerian court sentences 2 officials to jail for profiting off food donated to feed the hungry. Agriculture Counselor Umar Ibrahim and Feeding Committee member Bulama Ali Zangaba received 2-year jail terms May 4th and were ordered to pay 1 million naira fines. A million naira converts to just under $3,200 US. The officials admitted to selling bags of rice intended to feed Nigerians displaced by Boko Haram insurgents. Reuters reports the officials said they were following orders from a local leader. The BBC adds they told the court the rice was about to expire. About 2 million people have been displaced by the ongoing conflict between Boko Haram and security forces in northeastern Nigeria. Millions more have had their access to food disrupted and rely on rations just to survive. Last month, Reuters cited several sources that said funding to address the humanitarian crisis could dry up by May or June. For United News International, I'm Matt Paul.
California traffic fines are some of the highest in the United States, and civil rights activists declared on Friday that the fines are unfairly punishing the poor, who are losing jobs and cars because they cannot pay the fines. A new report from the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights of the San Francisco Bay Area found that a $490 red light ticket is 3 times the national average. The group's legal director said, "Our state is raising money off the backs of California families to balance the budget for special projects, and it's using traffic tickets as a revenue generator instead of to protect safety, instead of to do justice. 78% of Californians drive to work." A
Canadian woman was denied a pedicure because of her size. On April 29th, a nail salon in Winnipeg told Kimberly Adey that she wouldn't fit in their pedicure chair and refused to serve her. The owner of the salon told CTV News Winnipeg that their salon chairs have been broken before and they did not have time to properly accommodate Adey. Adey said she left the salon feeling embarrassed and ashamed. Jimena Rasos Salas from the Canadian Obesity Network has praised Adey for speaking out. Ramos Salas told the BBC that she hears a lot of stories like Adey's and she believes society needs to start accommodating larger bodies. This is not the first time a nail salon has sparked outrage for weight discrimination. In March, a salon in Memphis, Tennessee came under fire after posting this sign in their shop window. For United News International, I'm Rachel Latham.
According to the CDC, a tick-borne disease called Powassan virus carries a serious, sometimes fatal health risk. In a statement, the CDC added on Friday that approximately 75 cases of Powassan virus have been reported over the past decade. Dr. Susan Paskowitz, the chair of the Department of Entomology at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, says it's a rare disease that can often have pretty severe impact. People die as a result of Powassan infection. Dr. Janina Smith, an infectious disease specialist at UW Health, adds that Powassan attacks the brain itself, causing inflammation and infections of the brain.
The new U.S. Embassy will open later this year in London, and from the moment it was announced, it sparked controversy. First, because of its astounding $1 billion price tag, and secondly, because of its modern design. The embassy, which resembles a giant glass cube, is located in a former industrial site south of the Thames River. It was designed by the Philadelphia-based architecture firm Kieran Timberlake, and it includes a ring of ponds and gardens around its perimeter. The London Embassy is one of many in development as part of the Excellence in Diplomatic Facilities initiative, which kicked off in 2011.
On Friday, North Korea accused the U.S. and South Korea of an unsuccessful assassination attempt on leader Kim Jong-un. North Korea's Ministry of State Security released a statement on state media saying it will ferret out and mercilessly destroy those responsible for targeting the country's leader. The North Korea ministry accused South Korean agents of giving $20,000 and satellite communication equipment to attack Kim during a public event with a biochemical weapon such as a radioactive and nano-poisonous substance.
The owner of Pulse nightclub in Orlando said the mass shooting site will become a memorial and museum. The shooting last year at Pulse nightclub was the deadliest of its kind in modern United States history. 49 people were killed and dozens injured when a gunman opened fire inside the building in June. The shooter was later killed by police. The nightclub's owner, Barbara Poma, spoke to the press May 4th about her foundation, One Pulse. According to its website, the foundation will help build and maintain the proposed memorial and museum, as well as support grants, programs, and scholarships for those affected by the tragedy. Poma called the foundation a, quote, community-driven effort and a healing initiative. In a video from the foundation, Poma said, in the future, the memorial, quote, should be a place of education and a place of change and remembrance. For United News International, I'm Kimberly Caldwell.
The Transportation Security Administration issued a new security alert warning the nation's trucking companies about the use of stolen trucks as methods of attack. The alert centers on the current threat landscape. It points out that since 2014, terrorists have carried out 17 known vehicle ramming attacks worldwide. Such attacks have resulted in 173 fatalities and 667 injuries. Vehicle ramming has been defined as a form of attack in which a culprit purposely aims a motor vehicle at a target with the intent to inflict fatal injuries or significant property damage.
This tiny rural community is famous throughout South Korea and China for its sweet melons. It is home to families that have cultivated this land for centuries, people like Shin Dong-ho. Shin is the 5th generation of his family to grow up in Songju. Life here has been peaceful, until now. Today, Songju is famous for this, a United States weapons system designed to take down short and mid-range ballistic missiles fired from North Korea. The Terminal High Altitude Air Defense System, or THAAD, became operational on Tuesday, but it's caused outrage in the local community.
THAAD is not allowing us to live here as people in this quiet town. This is absurd. The government did not inform us at all. They ignored our rights. You can imagine how furious we are.
Locals have blocked roads to stop oil tankers and trucks from bringing equipment to the site, and they've been supported by protesters from around the country. This town is the birthplace of a master Buddhist and is considered sacred.
We don't want to use any violent conflict. We just shout and scrub and then protest by our body, by the people's power.
Just several kilometres up this road is a golf course where US troops have spent the past week finishing this anti-missile defence system. It's now blocked by police and we can't get up there, but we're told the system is now online and is capable of intercepting North Korean missiles. But that's precisely what's angering these people and why protests this week have been intensifying.
The military says this site was chosen for its high ground and is safe as long as residents keep away.
I believe my responsibility as an adult is to leave a beautiful and peaceful world, and that's why I'm here with my kids.
The last hope of the protesters is the May 9 elections. The Democrats say they'll review the system if elected to power. For now, peace reigns over this town, but these protesters say they'll resort to more violence if their hand is forced. Craig Leeson, Al Jazeera, Songju.
A sign of the times for Sears, a brand whose management has warned may soon become extinct, to the regret of its loyal customers.
I think because they have outlasted so many other competitors, I think that just is something that I love and hold dear to.
This was a landmark year for us as well.
Long before it opened its first store in 1925, the Sears Roebuck mail-order catalog offered nearly every sort of merchandise that America's mostly rural population desired, but couldn't easily pick up.
Over 100,000 items deliverable to you, from groceries and silverware to entire homes.
Hundreds of monuments to Sears like this one are still standing in residential neighborhoods across the U.S. This house, assembled from a Sears kit on site 115 years ago. For most of the 20th century, Sears was America's largest retailer by revenue. For a time, its Chicago headquarters tower, the world's tallest building. But its advantage as a dependable nationwide merchandiser has been steadily eclipsed by competitors who focused on more fashionable and specialty items.
They don't sell the entire line that Sears has, but they each took away a piece of Sears' business. And that left Sears really struggling to maintain its place in the market.
Sears is just one of many retail store brands that have also fallen increasing victim to online sales. Levinson says the brick-and-mortar department store won't die so long as consumers still need to see and feel products firsthand. But he warns that a retailer which doesn't keep reinventing itself to suit the customer just won't survive. Tom Ackerman, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Early morning at a mountain school in war-torn Yemen. These children are expected to help rebuild their country when the conflict finally ends. For that huge undertaking, they'll need education and health. The people trying to support them are struggling.
War and fighting have deeply impacted education in Yemen, particularly in rural areas. We don't have enough teachers because their salaries aren't paid regularly. Teachers leave and many schools have been shut down. The teachers who stay find it hard to work because they don't have enough equipment and they can hardly earn a living.
There are 120 boys and girls at this school. They seem far from the war between Houthi rebels and supporters of the internationally recognized government of President Abdrabbuh Mansur Hadi. They chant their lessons together. They have to learn by repeating what the teacher says, because there aren't enough school books to go round.
The main challenge faced by teachers in rural areas is the lack of books. We aren't given enough at the start of the school year, and we have a lot more children than books.
Bani Harasi is one of 14 rural villages in the Yemeni Directorate of Jafaria. Nearly 65,000 people live in the Directorate. The Bani Said Medical Center is responsible for the health of all of them. Doctors here say they too don't have the equipment they need.
Healthcare in rural areas is very poor. We are doing all we can. We offer inoculations, nutrition advice and advice for pregnant mothers and mothers who've just had their babies. We don't have laboratories, ultrasonic scanners or other things we need.
They may share the responsibility of rebuilding their shattered country, but with an uphill battle to get the teaching and healthcare that's needed, Yemen's children of the mountains are facing an uncertain future. Rob Matheson, Al Jazeera.
This week, GOP Governor Nathan Deal signed a bill allowing guns on college campuses in the state of Georgia. The signing makes Georgia the 11th of the 50 states in the United States to now allow firearms at universities. In a statement after signing the bill, Deal said that he believed people licensed to carry guns could help increase safety on college campuses. He then added, "At the present time, assailants can and do target these students knowing full well that their victims are not permitted to carry protection. The law will still reportedly prohibit firearms in campus areas with large crowds, such as football stadiums."